Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us for the Qatar Economic Forum. It's so great to see you.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Excellency, what's the latest on Rwanda's deal with Qatar on developing your aviation industry?
Just a bit of background. About 20 years ago, we started an airline, and this was part of our strategy to make Rwanda a global destination for tourism as well as major conferences and meetings. If you look at our geography and the state of the global economy, it's clear that services are going to be a big part of our economic future. Therefore, Rwanda has since become an important airline, connecting not only Rwanda, but other parts of Africa to the world as well. As it grew, we needed both to expand the airline and build a new airport with more capacity. When we looked for a strategic partner for that, Qatar really stood out. And that's how we came to be partners in aviation with Qatar. And we are very happy with the outcome and the growth we expect to see as a result. So far, so good.
Let's talk a little bit about the UK-Rwanda immigration deal. The European Court of Human Rights halted the deportation of asylum seekers from the UK to Rwanda. Do you think that an agreement is still feasible?
Well, I think the agreement is still on, maybe will be implemented as well. But just a bit of a background. It's not an issue that is hanging out there without a history or a background. Rwanda has been hosting more than 100,000 refugees for decades. So we are not new to this problem. In fact, most Rwandans have experienced being a refugee at some point in their lives. We know what it means, and we are doing this for the right reasons. Before the partnership with the UK, we began receiving vulnerable migrants evacuated from Libya by UNHCR and giving them safe haven. More than 1,000 so far have been processed through that effort. The arrangement with UK is really connected to that experience. There is no doubt that the global asylum system is broken and it needs innovative solutions. And we are happy to be part of contributing to those solutions. So when UK brought this issue with us and we talked about it and looked at all the merits, we thought it was something we could try to help out on, as we have done in the past in other cases.
Do you see something like this, an agreement of this nature, as a model that can actually be replicated in the future between developed and developing nations?
I think so. I think so. We need to try something new because what has been in place has not worked very well. That's why people are complaining about all kinds of things and seeing increase in migrations. So I think we need to really take a new look at this problem and find this could be one of the ways. But if there are other ways, then still they need to be looked at because the problem has been running for a long time. It hasn't been sorted out.
Your Excellency, how are you going to de-escalate tensions with the Democratic Republic of Congo?
I think it's a matter of dealing with the real issues underlying this. This is a conflict that has run for decades and keeps coming back. There are several things that are really mixed up. One, if you look at in the Congo, people, the Congolese of Rwandan ethnicity and how that issue has been handled in the Congo needs more attention and serious attention And that, if that was to be addressed, and it can be addressed, there's no question about that. If you looked at the rights of people, fixing their problem is a simple matter. So I don't see why Congo has not. And then when the international community has got involved, they have ended up being part of the problem.
How?
So in Congo, we have these groups that are Congolese as of origin, even though they have Rwandan culture or heritage or background. Then you have these groups, the genocidaires, the people who committed genocide here in Rwanda, who have been there for all this time, since 94 and on, causing problems against Rwanda and within Congo itself. So when the UN came there and they were supposed to deal with this matter, they actually did not. So much has spent on them, tens of billions of dollars for so long, and we see no solution. In fact, recently in this new fighting, we found that the Congolese forces, FARDC, and MONUSC, which is the UN force, and these FDLR groups that committed genocide here in Rwanda were working together. So how did the UN force that was supposed to go fight these people end up actually fighting alongside them and against the so-called M23, which fights for the rights of these Congolese of Rwandese origin, and now they become the target, they become the problem, instead of really being even-handed to address the problem as it comes up. Yes.
And President Kagame, the president of DRC, to that point, is actually accused Rwanda of supporting those very rebels that you mentioned in its territory. What would you say to the president of the DRC right now? What would be your one message?
I would tell him, and I have told him before several times, making those accusations is simply running away from his responsibilities as the president of that country, as the leader of that country. Why he should not address the problems that are internal to the Congo of these people, and how he fails to also address the FDLR problem that is based in the Congo, that crosses the border and attacks our people. And then they make it worse. Recently, when there was fighting between the UN and Congolese forces and these genociders together fighting the M23, they decided actually now to bypass the M23 and started sharing in the territory of Rwanda and killing people and destroying property. So we have had a conversation, we've been talking. It's not that we haven't been addressing the right issues, but implementation, and for some reasons I don't understand, President Tshisekedi has chosen a completely different direction. I don't understand what that is going to give us. But this has been communicated directly to him several times. Now we are having different efforts trying to help de-escalate and resolve the problems. One is the effort by the Angolan president, President Lorenzo, who is the chair of the International Conference of the Great Lakes region. And then the other effort is by President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the chair of the East African Community. I'm told we are going to have a meeting this coming Monday. So hopefully we can find a way forward and address the real issues. But we need to attend to the real issues and stop pretending or mixing up matters.
Excellency, with the war in Ukraine, Africa has essentially been collateral damage in many ways, particularly with the impact of sanctions and all the supply chain issues. How has Rwanda been coping from a financial standpoint? And how do you think we should see what this means for Africa and its position in the world?
Well, the war in Ukraine and between Ukraine and Russia affects everyone, including Rwanda. We see it in terms of oil prices, food prices, and shortage of fertilizers that many countries were getting from that place. So I would say, summarize, there is no justification for the invasion, and there is no question about who attacked and who is defending themselves, and that's all okay. I think people understand. And but right now, the real problem, I mean, as we see it from afar, where everyone has to be, I mean, right now, we have everyone taking sides, one side or another. You're either side on the one you think has been wronged and so badly, and then others think the other side, what they are doing in wronging the other party is doing it with justification. So there is no clear process of peace, and we can look forward in order to envision the end game. So how do we have the end state created at a point where you have just a paralyzed situation where one is on the one side and the other is on the other side, and everyone else is obliged to take sides? So who is left in the middle to steer things in the right direction? This is a question I would pose, and I'm sure many people are having that on their minds.
You are hosting a number of leaders at the Commonwealth Summit this year. What is the value that Rwanda, that you see in being part of the Commonwealth of Nations?
The Commonwealth is a productive community of nations that is particularly relevant in helping direct attention to the challenges facing small states and developing countries, notably with the climate, and really use this mindset to deal with many challenges. For one, it brings us closer to like-minded countries in parts of the world where we do not historically have extensive ties, such as the Caribbean or the Pacific. We are looking forward to welcoming the Commonwealth heads of state and government and various Commonwealth organizations to Kigali for meaningful meetings. And of course, we hope they like what they see and keep coming back in the future.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Asante sana, as always, His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda.
Thank you very much.